Welcome to Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you very much for choosing to join into this week's episode. Now, in this week's episode, we've got a very interesting video indeed. I have seen a little bit of it, haven't watched it all, but when I started to watch it, I thought I really want to talk about some of the stuff that has been said early on. So I'll be watching the second half of this video for the first time with you guys. So, but in the first half, I did come across some interesting things that she'd said and some of the things that I wanted to kind of address previously in a different video, but didn't really know how to convey it, but actually her talking about it is the perfect opportunity. So if you like this kind of content and you like all kinds of hair content, then please consider subscribing to the channel. There's like 350 videos on here, and a massive thank you to the 100,000 subscribers that I've managed to achieve this week. I cannot get over it, so a huge thank you to everybody who has subscribed. I was blown away at 10,000. I'm speechless at 100. I didn't make a big deal of it, all over social media. I just let it roll through, and hey, here it is. Amazing. Thank you so much for everybody's support, everyone's comments, everyone's love. It's been an amazing journey, and here's to the next however many thousand followers. Every one of you is as important as the previous one. 100,000 is no more important than number one, so I appreciate it immensely. Anyway, on with today's video, and I'll see you again next Sunday for another episode of Life of Hair. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're brand new to the channel and you want to see more content like this.
Okay, so what nobody tells you about hair color? All the hair colors is brown. Rewind, start from the beginning.
They're not all brown. Just quickly jump in there. They're not all brown. It's tan or it's beige to brown. Beige being blonde, brown being the darker end of the spectrum. So that was the first thing. It's definitely not all brown.
Very simple right now. We're not going to go too deep into the science of hair. Hair itself is empty. Inside of the hair we have those particles, pigments, colors. They are only...
So the other thing is the hair isn't empty, the cuticles are transparent.
3 colors: yellow, red, and blue. In theory, every hair...
Again, that's not exactly right. There's 2 types of melanin, pheomelanin, euromelanin, and if you're a redhead, you have a different type of melanin. We won't go into that. We'll save that for another video. If you're interested, let me know. But there's not red, yellow, and blue inside the hair. Red, yellow, and blue make up the colour of the tan and the brown pheomelanin and euromelanin pigment, but there's not red, yellow, and blue inside your hair. So let's just make sure we get that clear.
Hair color, whether it's natural or not natural, has just these 3 and combination of those 3 colors. Some of these are more, some of these are less, but it's just these 3 colors. In the middle of the hair is normally mostly yellow, then it goes red particles, and then it goes blue particles.
Okay, that's not how it works, just to be absolutely sure. There's not yellow in the middle, red, and then blue. It doesn't cascade out like that. There is red, yellow, and blue making up the colour. As you break down the pigment in a hair colour, that we're using bleach for example, it breaks down those pigments and it leaves behind a residue. The best way to describe that is when you take a boiled sweet for example and you smash it up, it goes from whatever colour the boiled sweet was, a sugar sweet, hard candy sweet, and goes white. The colour didn't leave, it got broken up so that it no longer refracts light. So there's not blue on the outside and red and then yellow. It just doesn't work like that. And basically in the cortex of the hair, or the medulla, not everyone's got a medulla, but the middle of the hair shaft, if you penetrate that, you will break down the structure of the hair and it will fall off or you'll snap it. And that's why you can't get past banana yellow or pale yellow, because those pigments that are remaining are holding together the structure of the hair, because they're connected to the protein bonds within the hair.
When we bleach our hair, we kill those particles. First color that goes away is blue because it's on the surface. Then I have red and yellow left. Then I keep the bleach a little bit more in my hair. red goes away. So it kills red particles because they're closer to the middle of the hair, to the center. Red goes away, then we have yellow. And when yellow goes away, then we have this white platinum blonde that doesn't have any colors in there, and it's empty, and this is why it can break like that and just leave me forever.
So yeah, like she said, if it goes white, it can snap off. So always avoid white lift. You can tone white to white, and it's an optical illusion white for hair that's in any reasonable health. But what you've got to remember is, you know, it's not doing what she says. It's not going blue, red, yellow. The colour pigments are being dissolved, so they no longer refract light. There's no blue, yellow and red all kind of particles sat in the hair individually. They're already mixed into a colour.
This is color theory, so you're probably familiar with that. I talked about this on my channel many times, and loads of people are talking about this, so it's not new. But I'm still gonna show you this, be like a reference for our eyes. So red, blue, and yellow, in our case, in the hair, is 3 primary colors. There are also secondary colors. Red mixed with blue gives us purple. Red mixed with yellow gives us orange. And then yellow with blue mixed together gives us green color. We will need this information a little bit later. Now, if we talk about hair colors, the only neutral color there is brown color. However, everybody is different, and nature has so many color combinations, so you can hardly find somebody with absolutely same hair color. It will always be a little bit different. But in every hair color, in theory, we have certain amount of blue color, certain amount of red, and certain amount of yellow, and different combinations of those colors. Let's imagine these colors in cans of paint. We have several cans of blue paint, we have several cans of red paint, several cans of yellow paint. Now let's look at different hair colors, and let's imagine how many of these cans, and these cans, this hair color could have. We come back to brown color a little bit later. Natural black hair. When a woman has natural black hair, normally it's very hard to find naturally black hair which has bluish shine. Probably only artificial hair dyes can give you that bluish black hair. Normally black hair, if you put them on the sun, they still shine a little bit reddish underneath.
And this is actually contrary to what she was saying, because there is no such thing as blue-black hair naturally, which she did say. But if it was blue on the outside and then it was red and then it was yellow in the middle, it would reflect. If you had jet black hair, it would reflect blue, wouldn't it? You would see the reflect through, bearing in mind that cuticle layers are transparent, you know, with no colour pigment. The colour is inside of the cuticle layers, underneath the scales on the outside of the hair. So that's why it would reflect, as she's saying, in the sunlight warmer, because there's only so many shades of brown, dark black to brown, and then beige to blonde, and you know, it's just a kaleidoscope of colours, brown and beige colours.
So black hair, I'm just gonna assume myself from the theory, from what I see and how I would color the hair of this girl if she wanted to go lighter, for example. So black hair like this, I would assume that inside of her hair she has some yellow, of course, as a base, and I think that she has a lot of yellow and it's very intense. So I put so many cans of yellow in her hair. Her hair is very dark, so it's very intense, so I can assume it has just a lot of pigment by itself. It just has tons of pigment. So there's a lot of yellow, it has a lot of red, and of course she has a lot of blue on top of all that. So if we mix very intense pigment of yellow, red, and a lot of blue, then we have this black hair color. Because if we remove one of those 3 colors, this hair won't be black anymore. It will be some other color. It will be muddy. If we remove...
It wouldn't necessarily be muddy, just to jump in there. If we took away the yellow, for example, it would be more purple. If we took away the red, it would be more green. If we took away the blue, it wouldn't be black. It wouldn't be dark at all. It would have to be, and this is absolutely a fact, it would have to be predominantly blue. Like tons of blue pigment, very small amount of red, very small amount of yellow, for it to appear black. That's without saying. So that just to give you an example of maybe, when you're thinking about hair color, when you're thinking about mixing hair color or creating hair colors, especially using direct dyes, crazy color, stuff like that, and you're wanting to create custom tones, because this is the only time this applies, by the way, with this likening it to paint. There are other times where you can liken it to paint, but it's usually when the hair's had the colour removed already, like when you bleach something, you want to tone it. In this particular instance, if we're trying to create a custom crazy colour, let's say you were going to create a black, it would be very difficult, but you'd have to do predominantly the darkest blue, a little bit of red to cool it down, and then a little bit of yellow. But remember, when you put the yellow in, it makes it lighter. It's very difficult to make black. But you do need to predominantly go in with the deepest blue at first. It's got to be at least 3/4 or more of it has to be blue.
Blue color completely. It will look orange because it will still have red and yellow. So this hair will be orange. If we keep the blue and remove the red, it will be muddy green color. If we kill the red, we have just blue and we have just yellow. We mix them together, it's like muddy green color. If we remove just yellow, so we still have red and blue, we will have purplish hair color, very intense purplish hair color. But it's only in theory, because practically you can't remove one of those colors in her hair. It removes naturally one by one. First color that goes away is blue, of course, always the case, because blue is closest to the surface of the hair. Then it goes.
I'm not entirely sure why she keeps saying this, because it's absolutely not the case. For anybody that's ever seen this video that thinks this is the theory, it's absolutely not the case. I'll put a picture on the screen now of a colour molecule from someone's hair. You will see what it looks like, and it's not blue, it's not red, it's not yellow, it's brown or beige. That's it. This is, unfortunately, this is the nicest possible way to Aliyah, is that this is misinformation. These colours do not live in your hair. End of story. They live in your hair made in what's called the melanocyte. The colour is made in there, and then it's produced in there, and that's in your scalp, in your follicle, and then that goes inside the hair, and then, obviously, as I said, the outside is transparent, and then that's the colour you see. It's not blue, red, and yellow living in your hair. Like that, not like she's describing.
Red, remember? Then it goes yellow. So when we bleach her hair, blue color will always go first. You can't keep it there. We can't just remove one of those colors. They all go one by one.
That is true, but when she said one by one, that's not true. They don't go one by one, they go all together. They're mixed together. They don't go one by one. That's just not how it works. So yeah, you can't take one away because they're all mixed together. They're already made the colour that your hair poses as. Her hair's blonde, so therefore she's got the lighter melanin, and therefore she hasn't got so much blue, so it's easier to make her hair blonde. If you were darker like I am naturally, although you can't see at the moment, but if you're darker like me naturally, or your hair's darker like the lady in the picture on the left-hand side of the screen, you would have to go through lifting a very, very, very dark brown, a very dense pigment to get to the blonde that she is, and that would be much, much harder. But it doesn't, you can't remove one, like she said, but it doesn't go one at a time either.
Next hair color, we have dark brown color. Dark brown, whether it's hair dye or whether it's natural hair color. This color has less blue. Basically, brown color considers to be the most neutral color because it has equal parts of each of these three colors. Equal part of red, equal part of yellow, and equal part of blue.
Again, that's not actually true. If you take equal parts of red, yellow, and blue, you'd get a light brown, maybe a level 6 if we were translating it into hair color. I've done it many times. I've run color classes based on mixing color so people can visually see how that might translate into hair. It doesn't translate perfectly. Hair color isn't paint. But if you mix them equally, you don't get a dark brown color like she's suggesting here. It's just the two are not akin, unfortunately. Try it for yourself. get some, acrylic paints or watercolors or whatever, mix them all together, equal parts of, 1 gram, 1 gram, 1 gram of red, yellow, and blue. You don't get dark brown. You definitely don't. You still need more blue to get dark brown.
Of course, you can manipulate the tone a little bit. You can make the brown hair look slightly cooler by adding some blue to it. You can make it look slightly warmer by adding some red to it, or adding some yellow, or both red and yellow, or orange, right? You can add some orange to it and it will be like more warm tone brown. But brown itself is the most neutral color. And what is neutral? From the Latin, the derivation of this word is neuter. Not this, not this. It can be neuter, gender. In some languages, there are words that have gender. For example, in Russian language, words have gender. The table is he. The apartment, for example, is she. So it has gender. But for some words, we don't have gender. For example, sun is it. It's not female, not male. It doesn't have any gender, so it's it. So neuter, gender. Neutral, neuter. Neuter, gender. Not this, not female, not male. Something in between. Something in the middle. You can't say this is this color, this tone, or this tone is just neutral. So every time we use this word in hair coloring techniques, we need to neutralize this unwanted tone, for example. This is what we mean. We put back one of 3 missing colors, or 2 of 3 missing colors. This way we make it neutral, we neutralize it, we make it more brown. Brown can be super light. This is also brown. It's just very light brown.
It's beige. It's beige. It's not light brown, it's beige. Or it's tan to beige, however you want to say it, but it's beige. 100%. However you say beige, it's beige. It's definitely not brown. No colour scientist in the planet would consider that brown. I can assure you of that. Even if you look in your colour book, it calls a level 6 darkest blonde. I mean, whether you agree with that or not, but it is calling it the darkest blonde. It's the lightest beige.
But it's still neutral. It's just very, very light. It has just very little amount of pigments. But they're still there, and there's still 3 of them. This blonde is more or less neutral. We can make it more cool or more warm, but it's another subject. We can add some tones later to that, but it's neutral, so it's brown. Basically, it's brown. And any hair color, very dark, middle darkness, very light, they all can be neutral.
She's right. They all can be neutral. Every color can be neutral, as a color shade, like an N, for example, in your color chart. But you can see on there the last is level 6, like I just said previously, dark blonde, and then it goes up to a 10, which we're going up to the kind of from tan to beige. And then once we get to a 5, then we're getting into the brown zone. It's not all brown. Don't ever think of it like that, because that's not how it works. And the reason it's not how it works is because if you are then going deeper into colour theory and you're thinking about hair colour, when you get to the tan end of things, generally speaking, there's very low quantities of blue, because otherwise it would pose as a darker colour, because remember, that's what drops it down into the brown zone.
They all can be brown on a brown scale. And if we put all the hair on a brown scale, they all will be neutral. That means that they all will have those 3 colors in equal amount. If you train your eyes to see how neutral these hair colors is, it will be so much easier for you to then predict what color is missing, or what I want to add there, or how to counteract unwanted hair colors. We come to that later. Now we come back to dark brown hair color. It does have blue. Maybe you don't see it as blue, but if we remove any blue, all you need to do is just to put some bleach on this hair, and in several minutes wash it away, and you will see how blue is gone. And this is how this hair is going to look when the blue is gone. We're going to have 2 remaining colors, yellow and red, and they too have orange color. So we have orange hair. So this is how you can see the difference. So this dark brown hair,
I see her logic, but it's not how it works. You don't just remove one pigment by putting bleach on the hair. It just doesn't work like that. They're all pre-mixed in the melanocyte, in the follicle. It comes out in one go, mixed together. It's not like individual pigments are created by the melanocyte. It just doesn't work like that.
does contain blue. It still have a lot of pigment, so we have a lot of cans with this paint, a lot of them, because it's dark. The lighter we go, the less cans with the paint we have, because the hair becomes more and more empty. It just has less amount of those particles, but they still present in there, and there's still 3 of them. Then we have lighter brown hair, just regular brown. Again, it's neutral, unless it has some more of this or that tone to it. It can look slightly cooler if we add a little bit of blue, a little bit of ashy tones, or a little bit of grayish tones to it. It can be more cool. If we add more red to that, it can be slightly reddish brown. If we add more yellow to it, it can be more golden brown. Now let's go to light brown color. Again, you can see it's very neutral. We have a little bit less amount of cans with paint, but there's still equal amount of them. Dark blonde. Many women have natural dark blonde color, which is very neutral. It's not golden and it's not reddish, and it's not very ashy and bluish. It's somewhere in between. Many girls in Russia, for example, they have this kind of hair color. I myself have dark blonde, maybe medium blonde. I have slightly ashy, but it's very neutral. It's not bluish, it's not very ashy, but again, it's not very warm as well. So when I bleach my hair naturally already doesn't have many particles of the pigment. My hair are emptier than a hair.
Again, not true. Sorry, Aliart, but it's not true. The density of the color doesn't change because you're lighter naturally. It just means that you create a different color melanin in your melanocyte. That's just not how it works, guys. I find this kind of information so frustrating because it creates confusion. This video has got 212,000 views on it. Her channel's fantastic, 77 million views, over 500,000 subscribers. But if you're going to go out there and say stuff like this, please make sure that the science is bang on. She said, "Oh, I'm not going to go deep into the science." Well, she's going deep enough that with information that's just not accurate to cause confusion for people, you know. So the reality is that the hair's not more empty. It's not more empty. It's got the same amount of color pigmentation. It might the density of the hair, how thick the hair shafts are not determined by how much color your hair holds. It's determined by how thick the hair shaft is, and that's a natural thing. There's nothing you can do about that. That's a whole different ball game. Not have you got less hair color in your hair, therefore you've got thicker or thinner hair. I'm sorry. I just find it, yeah.
Hair of a black hair girl. So for me to bleach my hair, it just takes less time and maybe a bit less chemicals, right, to kill those particles, because I just don't have many of them. But
you don't kill them either, you dissolve them. It's a process of dissolving. Bleach or anything that lifts your hair, any simple bleach, it's a corrosive agent. You know, if you put if you blocked your drain and you put like a sink-on blocker, it doesn't go down there and start killing things. It just dissolves it. It just melts it. Like when you put acid onto something or you put an alkali on something, it just dissolves it. You will have seen potentially the use of acids and alkalines, and that's what happens. It's not killing anything.
Medium blonde. When we look at medium blonde, we already can see even less red, yellow, and even less blue. So if you put bleach on that kind of hair, yellow color is probably that color that we see almost immediately after we put bleach on her, because blue and red will disappear very fast, and then it will be yellow. Maybe it's a little bit stable, but this is what keeps the hair filled in with the pigment, so it's more healthy. So if we remove all that pigment, of course it will be more breaking, because the hair like an empty bottle, so it won't have that much yellow. So if you add some more red to this color, it will be like very red or orange bright hair color. If we add some blue to that color, that can look a little bit green, because it doesn't have enough red, because it has a lot of yellow. And if we add some blue there, yellow plus blue is green, right? So it can have some greenish tint to it. So it's important to add also a little bit of red in there, just to make this neutral hair color. But of course it will be slightly darker. Every time you're adding some pigments in there, it's gonna make it brighter and darker, darker, darker. This is why every time...
Hair can't be brighter and darker at the same time either. That's not a thing. But she is right. You do, if you want to avoid your hair looking khaki or sludgy, you do need to add in some red pigment. So into your, for example, when you're toning blonde hair that's yellow like that, your violet shade that you're going to use does possess some red pigment, but we'll just talk about that red pigment. Red is a spectrum from light pink to dark red. Okay, so it would be pink that your would be in your 10V or 9V or 9.2 or 10.2, whatever color range you're using. And of course, the blue would be baby blue, not blue, just one color blue. That's it. There's only one in the spectrum. Because every single hair color ranges in terms of what it's how dense it is. So that's something to really bear in mind, guys. She's got 3 pots of paint here that are all the same colour. She's not really saying actually what it would be. It'd be light pink and it would be light blue, and that would make a very light, violet, and that light violet would then create the colour. And that's how you can translate colour paint to hair colour. But you've got to think of it in a much more expansive way. It's not just red, yellow, and blue. It's all the iterations, all the shades of those colours create the hair colours that we use.
You have that bright yellow hair and you just want to be ashy blonde. You try to counteract this yellow by red and blue, which is purple. This is why we have those purple shampoos, right? It's red and blue. We're adding those 2 missing colors into this yellow. Too much yellow, not enough red, not enough blue. This is why we have so bright yellow color. So we get purple shampoo, which is red plus blue. We added that purple in there, and it slightly neutralizes, again, this word, neutral, right? It's making your hair more brown. And this is why it's making it slightly darker, because you're adding pigments in there. You are just bringing more...
It's not making it more brown, because then it would be brown. It's making it tan or beige. It's not making it brown. Beige, as a colour, is basically exactly as she's saying. It's yellow plus red and blue, but it's the lightest version of that. So therefore it's not brown, it's beige to tan. And also, yes, by neutralising it, you do make it darker, but it's not turning it brown. That's just not what's happening.
Cans with that paint, which makes it automatically darker. This is why if you want to tone your hair after bleach, you always have to think 1 tone lighter, bleaching it slightly lighter to bring them darker to that wanted level again, because you're bringing those cans with paint back. If you look at light blonde hair, whether it's natural, so this girl has its natural and this girl has its bleached, in both cases it has a little bit of yellow color, no blue, almost no red, just a tiny bit of yellow color. So it just depends on what you want to do with it. If you want to make it brown, you have to add all 3 colors in there. You have to add some red in there too. And you have to add some blue in there too. And yellow too, because yellow is not enough in there. Otherwise you can end up with very weird muddy hair color, because it's already empty. So this is why when we go from blonde to dark, that is another very interesting technology. You put that yellow back in there, and then you put that red back in there, and then you put that blue back in there. This is why sometimes they pre-color the hair. They pre-color them whether orange or yellow, because yellow is in the center of the hair. So
this diagram, there is no way you would go from that blonde colour to those vivid colours to those neutrals like that. There's just no way that would happen. You would never neutralise all of that vivid colour and then turn it brown neutral. You would have a very warm reddy brown if you did the far right one. You would have a very, very orangey brown if you did the middle one, and you would have a very, very warm yellowy brown if you did the far left one. You wouldn't get those cool results. If you want those cool results, that's a whole different thing. I've done a whole video on it about pre-toning hair. It was a long time ago. It's over on the channel. You check it out if you want to see that.
If the hair already almost transparent, it's almost not yellow anymore. It's almost white. So first you put yellow there, back there, yellow, yellow, yellow. So your hair is very yellow. On top of that yellow, you can already put some purplish, brown tones and stuff so that will stick to it. And this is how you go darker. You can even go black from that blonde hair. But without putting color inside first, they just can't stick to anything because the hair is empty, it's like a glass. There's muddy green color. She has all three colors in there, but why it's green? Green is blue and yellow. So what we see? We see, for example, 2 blue cans and 2 yellow cans. Does she have some red? Maybe she doesn't, or she has just a little bit of red in there. So the red is missing, we have this gap. So we're adding some red mixed tone into her hair. We are adding some red color corrector to her hair. It's just a missing color in there.
But if you just put red on her hair, it wouldn't miraculously turn brown, just to be sure. The red would still be dominant. It would have to be a brown that has red in it. Not a colour correct. That red colour correct. You put red straight over the top of that. There's not going to be brown. You would have to take a brown hair colour that was predominantly red or had red pigment in it to neutralise that green. It just doesn't work, as in, oh well, there's missing red. Yes, there's missing red, it's gone green, because when you've got green, you've got yellow and blue. And actually, the reason that it probably went green in the first place is because she lifted the hair to yellow like the previous picture, put on a toner that was potentially too ashy, trying to make it grey or something, and it's turned it green. That's quite common. Or she previously had her hair dyed blue, like all over direct dye, crazy colour, and that's faded off and it's turned the hair green because the blue particles that have been left trapped in the hair from those direct dyes have interacted with the yellow in the hair, and therefore you are seeing green. But you can't just fix it by putting red on it. You have to have a base, one of your tan to brown bases that we mentioned previously, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 black, right? Any of those colours, and then you add in your corrective tone, for example. So, probably in this instance, you'd need to be at a minimum on a level 7. You'd then have to go in with something that's got some warmth in it. It wouldn't necessarily have to be red. Orange can quite often deal with that, as long as it's deep enough and rich enough and it is pushing towards the red side, if you didn't want to go that dark. If you didn't mind going, say, back to something near her natural, around a 6, then you could probably definitely use like a mahogany shade. That would also help to neutralize without having to sort of make it overtly red.
Now, any toner for the hair, the demi-permanent hair color, almost any toner contains all 3 colors, especially toners that are darker. Now, in hair color techniques, darkness and lightness is numbers. So the darkest is number 1, the lightness is in most cases 10 or 12. Let's go for 1.
10 or 12. I mean, I've heard people say 10 or 12 before. 10 I can live with. 12, 11 or 12, you're talking taking it home in a bag territory. The reality is that never even talk about something that's lighter than a 10. I mean, it does appear on some things like this, like she's got on the screen now, where it goes down to a level 11. But I wouldn't even entertain it, guys. Don't even consider it, because as soon as you get it that light, you are in the territory of the hair falling off completely. So just bear that in mind.
1 to 12. So 12 is the lightest. So if we get toners that are on the 12 levels, they have so little amount of pigments, they're almost transparent gels. Imagine transparent gel and somebody put a couple of drops of purple there or yellow there. So this is toners specifically for very light hair. So they're adding a little bit of those pigments in there. This is why those demi-permanent toners have their numbers and have their darkness too. The darker we go, the more all 3 colors are in there. So if we...
Not the darker you go, the more all 3 colours are in. The darker you go, the more blue's in the hair. I mean, when she's saying she's talking about toner specifically, it doesn't make any difference. Toner and hair colour are the same thing. They're just different pHs. One will lift the hair and deposit new colour into the hair, being permanent hair colour, and demi-permanent will just generally just only deposit. But there's not more red, yellow and blue, the darker you go. And the darker you go, the more blue, and then there's less red, there's less yellow, and so on and so forth. And then that flips around, and the higher up the scale you go. Now, there's not always yellow present in a toner potentially, but you know, there will always be a mixture of whether it like for example, she's talking about 11V here. 11V, I don't know what the hell that would go on to. A level 11, why you'd lift the hair that light, I couldn't imagine. Like her level, really bright blonde, level 10. It is just a level 10. Everything that we see beyond that is an optical illusion of it being neutralized by the violet colors. It is an optical illusion. It's not real. It doesn't exist as white. It just is what it is. Well, I mean, I'm not sure I learned a lot, in the sense that a lot of what she like I said previously, she's oversimplified it massively, and that's not helpful. You know, if you didn't understand it at all and it helped you, great. But if you're thinking about hair color and you're using that as a reference, you're actually going to make your life a lot harder. And to say, you know, the hair is less full or more full, that's also not true. So there's lots of stuff in this video that for me just didn't make sense and doesn't add up when you actually know how it all works. I'm not saying she doesn't know anything about hair, but I'm just saying that in this particular instance, what she was conveying for most of that video just didn't really add up. So anyway, I hope you found my interjection into this video helpful. If you have, then please let me know down in the comment section, and I'll see you again next time for another episode of The Life of Hair.